Good afternoon and welcome everyone. I want to present to you today our action research project that I did with my partner Christina Lofquist. And it's entitled Using Social Media and Technology in Curriculum Design to Increase Student Motivation and Academic Achievement. We both teach high school, and we felt that looking at ways that we could use technology more efficiently with our students would be a good research topic for us because we see kids using cell phones all the time, and at our school here we use the Chromebooks, and so we were trying to find a way to be able to get the kids more involved and more actively participate in class. And so I first want to start off with showing you a short video that we found that kind of encompasses where this all came from.
Did you know there's a UC in Silicon Valley for working professionals just like you?
At UC.
True for me. So that is quite interesting, some facts that you might not have known before. So what does all that mean? Well, we need to be able to use this technology in order to further our students' education and to get them more interested in real-world applications, which is what our goals are here in the 21st century. So the problem that we looked at for our research paper was to look at try gaining students' attention even though we have this digital era going on. We want our students to be engaged not only during lectures, but also be engaged technology-wise. And I don't know about you guys, but I always see my students' faces in their phones, unfortunately, and they're always on websites and stuff like that. And so we've got to use that to our advantage at some point. And we're looking at different ways in which we can get our kids to be more, at least to use technology to our advantage, instead of racking our brains trying to control it. So the purpose of this study was to detail the observations that we as educators might see in our classrooms and how implementing some interventions may increase student engagement and achievement. So we've all, experienced Facebook and Twitter. You might not be as familiar with Plickers or Yammer, which is what we used in our study. So first of all, let's talk about what student engagement is. So student engagement is actually defined in several different ways. In previous years at the school in which my partner teaches at, it was described as being on task and participating in classroom discussions. Well, that's kind of becoming a thing of the past. Yes, we want to discuss with our students, but we want to have more cognitive engagement, more investment in learning, and a perseverance in the face of challenges. And so we looked at a few different types of engagement. We looked at cognitive, behavioral, and also emotional engagement. And this all came from Jennifer Fredericks, and she states that student engagement is a multifaceted concept that includes aspects of behavior, emotion, and cognition. So we wanted to include all of those in our study. So in this study, we introduced 2 interventions in order to increase participation and student engagement in the English classroom. So the first thing we used was Yammer. Yammer is very similar to Facebook. It's owned by Microsoft 365, and it's also known as the Facebook for businesses. Basically, we used it as a discussion board, similar to what we use Canvas for if we have a discussion board here at school, where we would put a prompt up, post a prompt for the students, where they would then respond, and then also respond to each other, kind of like a group conversation. And it also allows for collaboration, and it's also available in apps such as iPhones, Androids, and BlackBerry. We also used a technology program called Plickers, which is a more recent application for instead of using little clickers in the classroom, which can be very expensive. This is very inexpensive, and any teacher could use it in any classroom. It's a free application that allows teachers to collect real-time formative data from students needing to have electronic devices. They really don't need the electronic devices. All the teacher does is need it, and we'll talk about each of those. So here's an example. Hopefully you can see this a little bit. This was a post that my partner Christina had put on her Yammer, where they had to answer a couple prompts talking about the Great Gatsby, which is the unit that they were doing in her class. And this is her AP 11th grade English class. And so you can see here there is a prompt, and you can see the students down here are responding, and they can also respond to each other. So this is a really good way for students to kind of collaborate each other's thoughts, but one of the reasons we really liked it is because you get kind of the reticent student that doesn't want to participate orally, or maybe be hesitant to answer out loud when called upon because they feel that they might be wrong. This is a really good way and makes them a little bit more comfortable at expressing their thoughts behind a computer screen, I guess you can say. And then Plickers is a really cool application that teachers can get, and it's a free application. Basically, each student gets a little kind of barcode, or maybe like a QR code, And each student is assigned, and each of them is a specific shape. And basically, depending on how the student holds it, they can choose one of 4 answers, A, B, C, or D, depending on what the question is that the teacher is asking. Each student holds up their card depending on what answer they want, and the teacher just has to scan the room for each of the barcodes, and it instantly gives you feedback on what the student's answer choice is. Therefore, you can see how much comprehension is going on immediately. And it's also good because the students can't tell what answer everybody else is putting up, because everybody's barcode is different, and the answer choices that have A, B, C, and D are very small on the cards. So it's not like the kids can look around and look and see what their partners are putting up. So this is a really cool formative assessment that you could do instantaneously in your classroom. And this can go for almost any class. And so this is something I learned about last year. And I thought it would be fun to do that with these kids. So we talked about a lot of how, excuse me, social media and technology is becoming more and more prevalent and is changing so much and so fast. We're trying to motivate students to lead online discussions and collaborate with each other, and we felt that this might be a way that we can get more from them. They tend to check out a lot in class, especially maybe in an English class where they're reading a book they might not like, or any type of class. And so we're looking for high participation in the curriculum because it can lead to greater motivation and decrease the number of discipline problems. Depending on what your population is, this can be a real lifesaver. The longer you can keep kids engaged and participating, the less you have to discipline, which is really great. And we're seeing that students' attitudes towards education are really on the decline. And so we really want to get them involved with technology. Since it's something that they use every day anyway, we want to be able to bring that into the classroom. So effectively integrating technology can allow teachers to merge the typical classroom practices in with social media and other technology. And a survey was conducted in a study, and the silent students expressed that they felt their engagement was enhanced by the way of the clickers. So those that are really reticent and quiet can really express their opinion without fear of being ridiculed or teased or made fun of, just by pressing a simple button. But, so that's why we chose this clickers application. We thought that this would be a really good way for these types of students that might be more reticent to participate. And we, during this study, we also saw that academic gains were made when we included technology in the classroom.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I was just wondering, with the academic gains, was it a lot, or was it?
Well, that was their study. That was the research study that we did.
Right.
But we're going to be. I'll tell you what
Oh,
ours
what
are.
your results were?
Yes,
Okay.
I'll tell you what ours are shortly.
All right.
So first, our research questions. Our primary research question was to explore to what extent did engagement and participation increase when utilizing technology. And our second question was to investigate how social media or technology used in the classroom affected academic achievement. So just a little bit about how this study went. So the school that was used for the intervention was one of the 3 high schools in the district where my partner works down in Southern California. The data was gathered from one AP 11th grade English class with a total of 28 students, was used in the study, and all of the participants studied the same novel, which was The Great Gatsby. And so my partner Christina was the intervention expert. She's the one that tested all of this stuff. And then she reported to me all of the data that she collected from not only the Yammer posts, but also from the Plickr responses. And so the basis of this study centered around the novel The Great Gatsby. And so there was a weekly reading from this text and corresponding weekly prompts posted on Yammer through Microsoft Office 365. So roughly twice, or maybe 3 times a week, she would put a writing prompt on Yammer where the kids would need to go on and respond to each other and comment on what they read and what others' thoughts were about the reading. And the instructor, which was my partner, also used Plickers for her reading quizzes to gauge if reading and comprehension were taking place. So obviously in an AP English class they would have to read a book, And so she used these as little, the clickers as gauges to see if the students were reading and were they understanding what they were reading. So the way we were trying to increase the validity of our study, we used credibility, looking at preconceived ideas about student performance, bias, and peer debriefing. We looked at dependability, a detailed description of the setting for others to duplicate the intervention using data triangulation. So we used several different ways. We did a pre and post survey about how comfortable students were with using technology and how comfortable they were at giving answers when called upon by teachers. And then we also looked at conformability. This is with students in the class using clickers and the discussions. She would make sure that she was being on top of that.
Is it confirmability or conformability?
Confirmability.
Okay.
Yes. So the researcher utilized the longer end of the suggested intervention timeline. So we only did this for about 3 weeks because we had a very short period of time to do this. But we did use multiple data sources like student work to increase this confirmability. So the triangulation of data was to help us be more valid with our research. So for our research question number 1, based on the intervention experts' visual observations, it was observed that behavioral engagement of students examined was high during the Plickers assessment. So during Plickers assessment, it looked like the students, from what she observed, was they were all very engaged and really liked using the Plickers. Some students enjoy using a new type of technology, stating they have never used the program before. So always, when you try something new, especially with technology, the kids usually get into it pretty quickly. There were mixed observations regarding the emotional engagement of the participants. And a majority of the students, approximately 85%, took the Yammer assignment seriously, as well as academically, and gave thoughtful and insightful responses to the questions posed to them. However, only 13 of 28 completed all of the posts. There were a total of 8 posts, and only maybe barely half of them completed all 8 of them. And we'll show you the results of that in just a second. For research question number 2, we were looking at student achievement. So there was a correlation between how often a student participated in Yammer and how well those same students scored on class quizzes. The quizzes took the form of the Plickers or traditional paper and pen methods. So we did use, she did use Plickers for some of her quizzes, and the other quizzes she just used paper and pencil, just like a normal traditional classroom. Those who participated fully in Yammer topics posited by the instructor scored better than those who did not participate fully. So here are some graphs of just the actual different assessments. So with the Plickers assessments, we were able to graph the average quiz score here, and you can see that majority of the students scored at least a 70%, with just one scoring a little bit lower. And over here with the paper and pen average quiz, you can see that the scores were a little bit lower on this. So data was gathered from the Plickers application, and the results are shown here. With each student's score being recorded, the average formative assessment score was 79.75%, which is high basic to low proficient range, so C+, B- score is what we looked at here.
Can
Yes,
you back up just
sure.
a second? I was looking at the x-axis on student. I don't know what those numbers mean.
These are the student.
No, the 7.5, 15, 22.5.
That is an error on my part too.
Oh, okay.
It should be just like this.
Okay, all right.
I
Yeah.
obviously neglected to put the scale in correctly, and thank you for
Okay,
catching
but
that.
that's okay. I was
Yes,
just
this
wondering-
is just, we numbered each of the students
Yes,
1 through
gave them an
28.
identification
Yes,
number. Got
yes,
it.
thank
Okay.
you for mentioning that. So the average post responses answered was about 57%. This data shows a significantly lower participation than that of the Plickers. This results are probably due to lack of participation of a few students who are also lacking in turning in their assignments as well. So that's why you would see those scores. And the students who participated in all of the Yammer discussions scored 14.59% higher on the paper and pen quiz and 9.08% higher on the Plickers quiz. So what we did here is we looked at those that submitted all 8 posts on Yammer and those that did not participate in all 8 posts. And we got significantly higher results from those who did post all of their submissions versus those that did not. And it really didn't matter which quiz it was, they did score higher than those that did not complete all of their posts. So we thought that that was really good, significant data. We also wanted to look at gender. Was there any difference between the males and females in the class? So there were a total of 9 males and 18 females in this group. Regardless of the assessment type, the females generally scored better on both. The females scored 15% higher on the pen and paper assessment and 5.6% higher than the males on the Plicker assessment. So the females scored significantly better on both tests. And then we also wanted to look at ethnicity. We looked at 4 different ethnicities in the class. We had Hispanic, Caucasian, Asian, and African American. So there were 32% of the students were Hispanic, 53% were Caucasian, 10% were Asian, and 3% were African American. And in all of the groups except for one, all of the Plicker scores were higher than the regular paper and pen scores. I attribute that kind of outlier to there only being one person in this group. And that person tended to be on kind of the lower academic end. So that might be one of the reasons why we didn't have a very big sample of African American students in this class. And it was noted by the teacher that he often struggles with tests.